I would be truly grateful if you subscribe to the channel. Your support will help this family grow, so let's move forward together. At 14, my parents ditched me at an airport over a bad grade. That's what happens when you don't do your best, my father laughed. I never went back. 22 years later, they tracked me down, desperate and broken. Sup, Reddit. This story gets wild, so buckle up. I'm Nathan Carter, 36, male. You need to understand how messed up these people were from the start. 22 years ago, I lived what looked like the American dream on steroids. My birth parents, David and Karen Carter, weren't just rich, they were Detroit royalty. They owned 4 luxury car dealerships, BMW and Mercedes, houses straight out of magazines, the whole 9 yards. Dad played golf with judges, had governors on speed dial. Our house in River Heights, a 7,000 square foot monument to wealth, screamed excess, Italian marble, full-time landscaping crew, circular driveway packed with cars. Picture every rich family stereotype from movies. That was my childhood. Dad wore suits to casual Saturday golf and tipped valets $50 to ensure everyone noticed. Mom spent more on a dinner party centerpiece than most families did on monthly groceries. But perfect families hide dark stuff behind mahogany doors. Ours was pure psychological warfare. Enter Ethan, my older brother, their golden child. He was practically lab engineered to be their ideal. 4.0 GPA, lacrosse captain, early admission to Duke with a full ride. His bedroom looked like a trophy store exploded. The kid never got below an A. They never let me forget it. I wasn't a screw-up, 3.8 GPA, varsity tennis, advanced math program. Most parents would celebrate. Mine saw mediocrity wearing a participation trophy. The comparisons were relentless. Ethan never needed geometry tutoring. Ethan never came in second. Ethan didn't retake practice tests. It was a broken record stuck on one song, Why Can't You Be More Like Your Brother? I kept a mental tally, 37 comparisons in 1 week during sophomore year. The worst part? Ethan sat there during these moments, basking in praise, never telling them to stop. He didn't care what it did to me. At dinner parties, they'd beam about Ethan's latest achievement, then look at me like I was a stray they'd accidentally adopted. Nathan's still finding his strengths, they'd say with tight smiles that fooled no one. It came to a head in March 2002. I'd just finished a brutal semester at Westminster Academy, Advanced Physics, Calculus BC, AP Literature, AP European History, Latin 3. 3 to 4 hours of homework nightly. I was exhausted. Report card day arrived, and I was proud, 5 A's, 1 A- in Advanced Physics, the school's hardest class. Normal parents would be thrilled. Mine saw failure. Dad was in his study, an oak-paneled shrine to his ego, photos of him shaking hands with Michigan politicians. I knocked, handed him the report card like it was the crown jewels. He studied it, his face darkening. This is unacceptable, he said, dropping it like it was toxic. An A-? This lazy performance will keep you out of top-tier universities. I tried explaining, advanced physics was notorious, only 3 kids got A's, the teacher praised my work. He cut me off. I don't care what the teacher said. Ethan never got below an A. You're not pushing yourself. Mom appeared, probably lurking in the hallway. She picked up the report card, shaking her head theatrically. Nathan, we invest $20,000 a year in Westminster. We expect results that justify that. This A- says you're not taking your responsibilities seriously. 20 grand a year, and they lost their minds over 1 A-. I studied 6 hours a night for that final. I had tutoring twice weekly, did every extra credit assignment. It wasn't enough. Maybe you need a reality check about what happens when you settle for good enough, Dad said. They exchanged that silent married couple look, deciding something I wasn't part of. We're taking a spontaneous family trip to Milwaukee tomorrow, Dad announced. I have urgent business meetings with an acquisition target, educational for you to see real business. What about school? I asked. Missing 2 days won't hurt, Mom said with a nasty smirk. It'll be a valuable learning experience. Ethan stayed behind for lacrosse playoffs, red flag number 1. They never included me on business trips when their golden boy was available. That night, I packed for 3 days, convincing myself this was their way of making peace. Maybe they wanted quality time. I didn't notice they packed lighter than usual. I didn't question their whispering after I went to bed. I thought Milwaukee might be a fresh start. What an idiot. The flight to Milwaukee. Mitchell left Detroit at 9:15 a.m. Wednesday. On the plane, they made cryptic comments about character development and real independence. When I asked about Dad's meetings or our itinerary, they dodged with vague nonsense. Dad read a business magazine, chuckling like he was in on a private joke. Mom kept checking her watch, exchanging meaningful looks with him. In hindsight, they were timing everything. This wasn't spontaneous, it was a planned execution. You'll understand soon enough, Mom said, patting my hand. Some lessons can't be explained. They have to be experienced. We landed around 11:30 a.m. Central Time. Instead of baggage claim or a rental car, Dad led us to the departure terminal. I figured he needed return tickets. Nathan, wait by this pillar, Mom said, pointing to a concrete column near security. It was a busy but not crowded spot, perfect for staying out of the way. Dad forgot something in the rental car, she said. I need to make calls for tonight's dinner meeting. 30 minutes, then lunch and the hotel. Something felt off, but I couldn't pinpoint it. Can I come with you? I asked. You're 14, Dad said with a condescending laugh. 30 minutes alone won't kill you. Consider it practice for adulthood. 30 minutes, Mom repeated firmly. Stay here. Don't wander. Don't talk to strangers. We'll be back. I watched them head toward ground transportation, Dad's hand on Mom's back like they were on a mission. What I didn't notice then, but recall now, is they carried no bags, no Dad's leather briefcase, no Mom's oversized purse. Just empty-handed, moving toward the exit like they were heading to departures. The first 30 minutes crawled by. I sat on my duffel, watching families reunite, business travelers speedwalking, old couples navigating crowds. At 45 minutes, I got worried. Dad's meetings were supposedly at 2 p.m. They should be back for lunch. By 1:30, I was freaking out. I checked the information desk, no pages. I searched every restaurant and shop within 100 yards of the pillar. Nothing. Around 2 p.m., I saw Dad, 50 feet away, moving fast toward the departure gates, alone. I waved frantically, yelling his name, running despite Mom's orders to stay put. He saw me, made eye contact across the terminal, and stopped. He smiled, not a warm dad smile, but something cold, satisfied. Figure it out, son, he called over the noise, loud enough for others to stare. Time to learn what the real world looks like when you don't perform at your best. He turned and vanished into the crowd. I stood there, stunned, as people flowed around me. My father had walked away from me in a strange city, 800 miles from home. The reality hit when I checked my wallet, $47, no cell phone, this was 2002, parents didn't think kids needed them, no ID except my Westminster student card, no credit cards, no emergency contacts, no way home. They abandoned me at Milwaukee Mitchell over an A- in advanced physics. Let me repeat that, my parents flew me to another state and left me at an airport because of one imperfect grade. I spent another hour by the pillar, bouncing between disbelief and panic, expecting them to return, laughing about a cruel prank. The rational part knew they were likely back in Detroit. Around 4 p.m., airport security approached. Detective Monica, about 45, had a seen-it-all cop vibe, professional but not cold. Son, you've been here a while, she said, crouching to my level. Everything okay? Waiting for someone? The story poured out like a broken dam. Her expression shifted from concern to rage as I explained. How long have you been alone? About 4 hours. Any way to contact your parents? Phone numbers? Hotel info? No, ma'am. They didn't tell me where we were staying, and I don't have a phone. She took down everything, full names, Detroit address, Dad's office numbers, dealership info. What your parents did isn't discipline, she said grimly. It's criminal child abandonment, a serious felony in Wisconsin. I'm calling Milwaukee PD and Child Services. You're not in trouble, but we need to get you care while we sort this out. 2 Milwaukee cops arrived within 20 minutes. Detective Paul, about 50, gray hair, weathered from seeing humanity's worst. His partner, Officer Emma, younger, looked genuinely angry hearing my story. Your parents committed aggravated child abandonment under Wisconsin law, Detective Paul said, pulling out a tape recorder. Need your full statement. Take your time. Tell me everything. I walked them through it, the A-, their reaction, the sudden trip, waiting by the pillar, Dad's final words. He asked clarifying questions, had me repeat details for accuracy. Child abandonment is a Class F felony here, he said. 3 to 7 years in prison. What they did isn't just cruel, it's illegal, and we take it seriously. He'd seen this before, though not like this. Usually it's poverty-related, he explained while we waited for DCFS. Parents can't afford food or housing, kid ends up alone. This is different. Your parents chose to abandon you as punishment. That makes it especially messed up legally. Wisconsin DCFS arrived around 6 p.m. Carol, mid-50s, gray hair, calm, professional, like she'd handled this 1,000 times. Nathan, I'm sorry this happened, she said, sitting beside me in the terminal. We'll ensure you're safe while the legal system handles their actions. DCFS had been calling my parents all afternoon, home phone, business lines, detailed messages. They coordinated with Detroit PD for a welfare check at our River Heights address. Have they responded? I asked. No, she said bluntly. That tells us a lot about their priorities. Detroit cops found them at home around 5 p.m. Detroit time. David and Karen seemed surprised law enforcement was involved. They claimed they were teaching me self-reliance, planning to let me work through the challenge for days before returning. Days, in a city I'd never seen. The officers documented their statements for the criminal case. That night, I was placed with the Larson family in Kenosha, 20 miles north of Milwaukee. Tom, a high school principal, and Susan, a registered nurse, had 2 teens, Katie, 16, and Elias, 15, and had done emergency foster care for over a decade. This is temporary, Carol explained during the drive. A few days while we assess next steps. The Larsons are experienced with emergency placements. Their 2-story colonial in a middle-class neighborhood felt normal, small yard, basketball hoop in the driveway. Katie and Elias were polite but curious, wondering what brought a Detroit kid to their home with no notice. We're glad you're safe, Susan said, showing me the guest room. Tomorrow, we'll get you enrolled in school temporarily and ensure you have clothes and supplies. Tonight, rest. I didn't sleep, replaying Dad's words, figure it out, son. How do parents abandon their kid over 1 grade? Criminal charges were filed the next morning, aggravated child abandonment, child endangerment, reckless conduct, all felonies. I still remember the case number. My birth parents hired Detroit's priciest white-collar defense firm within 48 hours. Their strategy, minimize media attention, spin it as a misunderstood parenting decision, negotiate reduced charges to protect their reputation. They cared more about their social standing than their abandoned kid. Meanwhile, I learned what real parental care looked like. The Larsons treated me with kindness, giving me space to process. Tom enrolled me at Kenosha Township High temporarily, ensuring I didn't fall behind. Susan took me clothes shopping, treating it like routine family business, not charity. Katie and Elias included me in their lives, movie nights, navigating school social dynamics, making me feel less like baggage, more like temporary family. The contrast was stark. Tom asked about my day and listened. Susan ensured I had lunch money without acting like it was a favor. When I got a B+ on a history test, Tom said, "Nice work," and moved on. No interrogation about why it wasn't an A. No comparisons. The Larsons couldn't do long-term placement due to space and other fostering commitments. DCFS began seeking a permanent home. That's when I met Lisa and Michael Bennett. Michael, 42, was an electrical engineering professor at Northwestern. Lisa, 40, was a clinical psychologist specializing in family trauma and adolescent development. Married 15 years, foster parents for a decade, no biological kids. We'd like to meet and see if this might work, Lisa said on our first call. No pressure to decide quickly. Ask any questions. Their Evanston house was bigger than the Larsons but felt like a home, not a showroom. Living room furniture was arranged for conversation, not display. Books everywhere. The basement was a combo office and electrical workshop with 3 workstations, equipment surpassing Westminster's shop class. Interested in electrical work? Michael asked, noticing my curiosity. A little, I said, understating my obsession. I'd taught myself basic wiring, circuitry, and electrical systems since middle school, out of curiosity and boredom. What projects have you done? He asked. I described a lighting system for my church youth group and a control panel for my tennis coach's court lighting. Michael listened, asked technical questions, offered improvement ideas. Want to see my projects? For an hour, he showed me research on power distribution and grid analysis, treating me like a colleague. Most think electrical work is just connecting wires, he said, pulling up schematics. It's about power flow, load management, efficiency optimization, applied physics with real-world impact. He showed me a project redesigning a manufacturing plant's electrical systems to cut energy costs by 30%, saving $120,000 annually. That's work that matters, he said. Lisa's approach was equally respectful, focused on emotional growth. You've experienced significant trauma, she said at our second meeting. Parental abandonment creates deep wounds that take time to heal. Your feelings, anger, confusion, sadness, relief, are normal and valid. She didn't push me to talk but offered professional help when I was ready. After 3 weeks of visits, they asked about long-term placement. We'd love you to become part of our family, Michael said. No pressure. You can change your mind, but we think you'd be happy here, and we'd be honored to be part of your life. I moved in with Lisa and Michael in May 2002, 3 months after the abandonment. The criminal case against my birth parents crawled through Milwaukee County Court. Their attorneys delayed, pushing for plea negotiations. The prosecutor argued this was part of a psychological abuse pattern, not an isolated mistake. A guardian ad litem, Richard, a former prosecutor in his 60s specializing in child welfare, was appointed. He interviewed me extensively, documenting the abandonment and the broader context of perfectionism and emotional abuse. Your parents show no genuine remorse, he told me. They focus on minimizing legal consequences and protecting their reputation, not your well-being. Ethan visited once, 6 months after the abandonment. He drove from Detroit in his BMW convertible, a graduation gift, and took me to lunch in Milwaukee. He looked uncomfortable, like he was on damage control duty. "Mom and Dad miss you," he said, picking at his Caesar salad. "Do they?" I asked. "They're stressed about the legal case. Dad says attorneys cost $15,000 a month, and publicity hurts the dealerships. Some friends stopped inviting them to events. He led with their financial stress, not my well-being. Are they sorry for what they did?" He paused. "They're sorry it became a legal case," he said finally. That told me everything. The case concluded in November 2002 with a plea, no jail time, substantial fines, 2 years supervised probation, mandatory parenting classes, supervised visitation only. They kept parental rights technically, but I stayed in foster care with Lisa and Michael. 8 months later, they asked about adoption. "We've grown to love you like our son," Lisa said. "We'd be honored if you'd let us adopt you officially." "Yes," I said instantly. "Absolutely." The adoption, finalized in August 2003, took a year due to legal complexities. I changed my last name to Bennett, embracing a new identity, family, and life with people who cared about my well-being, not just my performance. High school with Lisa and Michael was transformative. They encouraged exploration and curiosity, not perfection. They celebrated my interests, not comparisons to Ethan. Michael mentored me in electrical engineering, providing resources and opportunities. By junior year, I audited Northwestern's undergraduate engineering courses and worked on graduate-level research projects. Lisa taught me emotional intelligence, healthy relationships, and processing emotions without suppression. By senior year, I had straight A's, strong test scores, and an electrical projects portfolio that impressed admissions officers. I built genuine friendships, discovered interests beyond academics, and learned to be valued for who I was. Stanford accepted me for electrical engineering with a partial merit scholarship. My birth parents tried contacting me before college. A letter arrived at Lisa and Michael's in July 2006, on expensive letterhead from their attorney. "Dear Nathan, we're proud of your Stanford acceptance. We understand your anger over past conflicts, but our high expectations motivated your success. We'd like to reconnect, provide financial support for college, and rebuild our relationship. With love, David and Karen." I showed it to Lisa, then filed it away without responding. Stanford was challenging but perfect. I excelled in advanced math and engineering, made friends with serious students, and started dating Sarah, a mathematics major from Maine who shared my passion for power systems. Junior year, I interned at an electrical contracting company in Tampa, founded by Stanford grads, designing power systems for small businesses. They offered me a job after graduation, but I had bigger plans. Senior year, I co-founded FlexChain with 2 classmates, optimizing electrical systems for small manufacturers. Our model was simple: audit outdated systems from the 80s and 90s, redesign for efficiency, save clients 20 to 30% on energy costs. My partners handled sales and project management. I focused on technical design. FlexChain gained traction fast, signing 200+ clients in 8 months, generating enough revenue to cover expenses. Larger firms noticed. We sold FlexChain to a Fortune 500 electrical contractor for $1.8 million in September 2010. My share, $600,000, gave me a financial foundation at 22. The acquisition opened doors. I joined the acquiring company as a senior project manager, then moved to a supervisory role at a larger Cleveland firm. Sarah earned her PhD in applied mathematics from Miami while I built my career. We moved to Cleveland in 2012. She took a senior data scientist role at Dell Technologies. By 30, I was shop foreman at an industrial electrical firm. By 33, I ran my own business with 30+ employees, specializing in large-scale industrial projects, designing power distribution for factories, optimizing manufacturing equipment loads, implementing backup systems. High-margin work requiring serious expertise. My company generated 6 figures annually. My investments in electrical ventures exceeded $1 million. I built a strong reputation in Cleveland's contracting community. Sarah and I bought a house in Westlake Hills, traveled, lived comfortably but not ostentatiously. Throughout, my birth parents tried contacting me, Facebook requests, blocked, LinkedIn messages, deleted, holiday cards, trashed unopened, letters marked, to our son Nathan, returned to sender. I documented everything, per Lisa and my attorney's advice. Lisa and Michael remained my real family. They attended our 2014 wedding, celebrated every milestone, treated Sarah like their daughter. When Michael was diagnosed with early-stage prostate cancer in 2016, I took leave to coordinate his treatment. Do you ever wonder what life would have been like with your birth parents? Lisa asked during a Cleveland visit. Never, I said. Everything good in my life came from relationships with people who care about my well-being. Ethan and I had minimal contact via social media. He ran 2 dealerships, married his college girlfriend, had 3 kids, living the life our parents planned, country club, expensive cars, lavish vacations, Detroit social prominence. Dad asks about you sometimes, he said in a rare call. They're not as demanding now. Grandkids changed their perspective. They know they made mistakes. Good for them, I said. Doesn't change anything. They're in their 60s. Mom's had health issues. Isn't it time to let go of resentments? They abandoned me at an airport at 14. That's not resentment, it's a rational response to people who can't be trusted with basic decency. He stopped pushing reconciliation after that. My life was stable, successful, insulated from them. Sarah and I were happy, my bond with Lisa and Michael was strong, my business thrived. Then, in March 2024, everything shifted. It started with a LinkedIn message from a paralegal, Lisa, at a Detroit law firm. Mr. Nathan, I represent David and Karen regarding an urgent family matter. Please contact us immediately about a time-sensitive legal case. I deleted and blocked it. Then came emails to my work, voicemails from attorneys, a certified letter I signed for out of curiosity. Inside was a letter from Ethan and legal documents telling a familiar story. Nathan, I know you want nothing to do with them, but Mom and Dad face federal charges for tax evasion, fraud, and money laundering. The dealerships are in bankruptcy. They're looking at 15 to 20 years in prison. I can't afford the legal fees or help them. They need character witnesses and support. Despite what happened, please call. I researched via public records and news. The automotive group was collapsing. The IRS filed $2.1 million in tax liens. The FBI executed search warrants at all 4 dealerships and their River Heights home. Criminal complaints from customers, ex-employees, and partners alleged decade-long fraud. Per the Detroit Free Press, David ran a tax evasion and money laundering scheme, underreporting cash sales, skimming service revenue, funneling money through shell companies in Vermont and Utah. The investigation began when Daniel, a former finance manager at their flagship dealership, reported suspicious activities to the IRS after being fired for asking questions. David and Karen faced 15 to 20 years in prison, plus financial ruin from civil penalties. Calls poured in, Ethan, distant relatives, family friends guilting me. They're still your parents, my paternal grandmother pleaded in a voicemail. Family helps in crisis. You have resources. It escalated when David and Karen showed up at my Cleveland business. Mid-60s now, they looked older, desperate, David's hair gray, Karen in a cheap dress. My office manager called, 2 people claiming to be your biological parents request a meeting. Should I send them up? No, I said calmly. Escort them off the property. Add their names to the restricted visitor list. Notify me if they return. From my second-floor window, I watched security walk them to their rental car. Karen was crying, David looked defeated. That evening, Ethan called. They drove to Cleveland to see you. They're desperate. The sentencing hearing is next month. Without witnesses or legal help, they'll get decades. They should have considered that before committing federal crimes, I said. They're family, whether you acknowledge it or not. No. Lisa, Michael, and Sarah are my family. Don't ask me to save people who abandoned me at 14. I hung up and blocked his number. The federal case dominated Detroit news. Prominent auto dealers face prison, family empire crumbles. Their social standing and business reputation were destroyed. I could have watched from Cleveland as karma caught up after 22 years. But Michael taught me about electrical systems. Elegant solutions address root causes, not symptoms. David and Karen's root cause was avoiding consequences for abuse, abandonment, fraud. I decided to ensure they learned that lesson. I retained a Detroit forensic accounting firm specializing in white-collar crime. Not to help them, but to ensure prosecutors had all evidence. The firm, costing $25,000, was worth it. They uncovered David's embezzlement from the Detroit Children's Foundation, where Karen was vice chair. They stole $90,000 over 3 years from a charity for pediatric medical equipment, invoicing for fake consulting services through a shell company. The evidence went to prosecutors, who expanded the investigation. Daniel, the whistleblower, contacted me via my legal team. He provided recordings of David instructing employees to underreport cash sales, photos of 2 sets of books, one for the IRS, one real, and bank statements showing money laundering through offshore accounts. He documented everything before his firing. They'd try to pin it on lower-level employees, Daniel said in a conference call. I made sure Joe's involvement was clear. The evidence was legally obtained, bulletproof. Expanded charges were filed 3 weeks before sentencing. Karen called 2 days prior, using a number obtained via private investigators. Nathan, son, her voicemail shook. We know we hurt you. We're sorry for our mistakes. We're losing everything. Ethan's facing prison too. You're successful, secure. You could help with legal fees or references. We're still your parents. We love you. I saved it for my attorney as evidence of harassment. David called next. Son, we made errors in judgment when you were young, trying to teach strength. We're proud of you. Please don't let our family be destroyed over past conflicts. I saved that too. The sentencing hearing was last month. David got 8 years in federal prison, $2.8 million in restitution. Karen got 5 years, $1.2 million in restitution. Ethan got 36 months, permanent revocation of his dealer licenses. The judge called their actions a systematic betrayal of trust, extending beyond tax evasion into moral bankruptcy. David requested leniency for his community contributions. The judge shut it down. Asset forfeiture was brutal. The River Heights house, a northern Michigan vacation property, country club memberships, Karen's jewelry, all seized. The dealerships were auctioned to cover restitution. Detroit's social elite acted like they never existed. Their final communication came via their attorney yesterday. Our clients regret past conflicts and acknowledge flawed parenting. They understand your anger but hope, after their sentences, you'll consider forgiveness and helping them rebuild. They've lost everything except hope their son might show mercy. I framed the letter, hung it in my home office beside a photo of Lisa, Michael, Sarah, and me at our 2014 wedding, my real family, who didn't abandon kids at airports and call it character development. Some lessons stick forever. They taught me actions have consequences, even if they take 22 years. I taught them the same. Justice delivered, with compound interest.